this is a tough one. Just hang with me for a minute. You're on a downhill slope. Start looking back. The farther you look back on a timeline, why? Because this timeline could be any log system relative to x or y, x prime or unprime elements on the periodic table. Let's go over here just so I have this tight together. Giving you a little insight on what it is. Who knows what that thing is, or why these charts diagram. I was trying to look for some clean ones. Yeah, well, anyway. Chromium, steel, iron. What this phase diagram references, it's triple point model here with, I do believe this is iron, pure iron phase diagram. These are again overlaid to the triple point, and again invert to the rest of the periodic table as well, as much as everything's metal. Now, how much chromium you add to it, the way you add it to it, it shorts it over, does some Bibbett stuffs. Yeah. We even talk about linear or laminar. To this here, it might not matter here to a kitchen knife. Most of that's going to work out to what you're doing with that tool, but there may be a reason in some of that plasticity or composition, knowing some of that angle right there. It'll help you out. Do that, heating it with induction, like that with magnets, a torch, or how you go about quenching it, the type of steel, generalizing it. You can only get so far with that trig, which will help you break it down or tell you like how far you could stretch that over the base if that was doing its stuff, enriching it. When Neil deGrasse Tyson's gonna say something weird to me like the sun's white or something like that, and I'm gonna go, no, on the scale of white to red, perhaps, when this thing I guess is supposed to do one of these bad jobs, it's yellow. We'll red shift into a red giant eventually when you think about whether the core is liquid or solid. Tungsten, iron, gold, drop the melting point on things a little bit to the gravity, so it's probably a liquid situation. But if you're good with fluids and all these little Bernoulli's ways of putting the gravity to it and squirting it out, made out of the right metal for how long it's supposed to last. I mean, put a little particle in there in water and the brass fit and eventually go. Will the plastic hose hold up in all the connections of how you're sliding that together? Drive through Chicago or something, or any other area where it's like, well, whoever Red Dawn thinks that they want to be, drive up and halfway to Chicago. By the time you can do anything about it, the train's entropy here, it's like, that's that thresher here, all this metal laying around. You gotta get all that stuff in there and train why that's one, or however that chips into what it is. Being that version of what you're catching that return to be, or am I stretching out that timeline in a sequence where it's gonna deform against what that standard is, depending on me optically handling the models right, or trying to get it to where she's supposed to go. You can see how this air turbulence, and this is Magnus effect. Magnus effect. Just some kind of V trajectories on why the turbulence, you see, AUAG, metals, materials in this way. They're a derivative, but essentially on certain models, certain models. Baseball, apple, whatever we're doing here, ball wave stuff. Could be 5%, alien civilization or otherwise, come on in, there's a gold mine facility, should be able to pull out 5% better. It might be more precise or deal with something, some way that it's just cranking it through like that. It's a lot going into this stuff that's got to be to those charts when we go building this stuff. These on small scale to that thing, if we went about building this thing, is going to be, in a lot of ways, these little processes are going to do that in an apartment, all that at once, and all this at once, and then why that holds that 45-45 on those trajectories. Or again, flip it the other way on this side of it and say, again, look back throughout all Scientology to the beginning and just right here, photon glue on W boson, Z boson to a U, a X, a, or excuse me, a V, a U, a V, a W, a X, a Y, Z, solid, liquid, excuse me, gas, liquid, solid, on why that. And that very, looking back through the tubes, again, you're trying to figure out why you're on that here to operate where it's going to go. But once this piece of metal, you're watching that dyno go, man. Anyways.